Hello, everyone. I'm here to talk to you about my journey as an artist into collaborations and what I've learned about how to be a collaborator. I'm still trying to be a good one, but I think I can share a few lessons with you that I've learned in my journey. So, let me begin by telling you about a couple of theater exercises that we do at the beginning of every play. So, the first one is an exercise where there is a stick and all the team members, 5, 6, 7, 8, depends on how big the team is, everybody keeps the stick in the air by holding it with their fingers. Actually, not holding it, allowing the stick to rest on their fingers. And all the team members allow the stick to rest on their fingers. And the game is that they have to move about, they have to sit, stand, the group has to be mobile and not let the stick fall, but without changing anything about the way that they are holding the stick. This is one game. There's one more game, which is called the trust game. The team stands in a circle, and there's one person who will stand in the center. That person closes his eyes or her eyes and falls in whichever direction he or she wants. The team catches this person and very gently puts him or her back into the standing position. So, these two exercises for me kind of are at the core of what every successful and good collaboration is about. One is that do not be afraid to fall. Don't be afraid to fail in front of your team members. Be open to being surprised completely. Believe in the process that you have fixed for this project. And trust your team. Trust in the expertise that is there in the team. For about 15 years of my life, I worked as a singer, as an actor, more so like a sessions musician, session singer, as in like I would go take notations and sing what was expected of me. I would go um, take directions and act. And I've done many projects in the span of these 15 years. And I'm very, very proud of many of the projects that I've worked in, a lot of the work that I've done in these 15 years. But through this time, I was craving for something else. I was craving to have artistic experiences which were more participative, where I had more responsibility, where I could somehow be more involved in the way that the project was shaped. I guess I was craving for collaboration. And then I started looking for these projects. Then I started looking for these opportunities. And I did get the first opportunity like that by luck. I was invited to be a part of a project, and I discovered that in this project, I am not just given, directions saying, act like this, sing like this, or given orders, but I was asked to participate in a different way. I was asked to express my views about everything that was going on. I was asked to weigh in about whether this is right or wrong. I was asked to present what would be my interpretation of a certain thing, how I think the project should be shaped. And then I realized I was in a proper collaboration. And it was fascinating because I felt this is an experience I've never had. And then I started craving for more of these kinds of experiences. So the next few examples that I'm going to give you are these kinds of collaborations that I finally did manage to be a part of. And the lessons that I learned in these collaborations, going back to the two theater exercises that I mentioned in the beginning, the lessons that I've learned from being a part of these collaborations and how they relate to what I think is at the core of a good collaboration. A play that I was a part of, a collaboration, C Sharp, C Blunt. This was with a group of theatre makers, and the director of the play was Sofia Stepf. The text collaborators were Iravati Karnik and Swartau Naujam. The sound collaborator was Nikhil Nagraj. And the project was born because Sophia and I had worked on something else together. We said, we should collaborate, we should work on something. And Sophia said, why don't we create a theatrical piece where you are on stage as an app? I said, okay, let's do it. And then the project was born. We went into the rehearsal room not knowing anything about what we were going to make. We rehearsed, we workshopped, we experimented, we discussed, researched, and then we put together this play, which is C Sharp, C Blunt, which is a humorous and a satirical interrogation into what it is to be a woman in the entertainment industry. And there were many, many lessons that we learned in this. One of the biggest lessons, takeaways that I had from this collaboration was, like I said in the theatre exercise game, be open to be surprised. I completely walked into this with no idea of what we were going to make, and I was ready to be surprised by the process, the results, the people around. And the second thing I learned was, when there are good people in the team, trust them, trust their expertise. And there were enough good people, experts, skilled theatre people in the group, in the team, and we managed to create something fascinating. ಹೋಗುತ್ತಾ 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 ಹೊಟ್ಟೆಯ ಅಡಿಯಾಯಿತ್ತು ಬಟ್ಟ ಬಯಲಾಯಿತ್ತು. This is a song not from C Sharp, C Blunt, but from another collaboration that I was a part of. It's called Threshold. Threshold happened because I was invited by somebody to do a performance, and I invited another performer singer, Bindu Malini, to come on board, and we both sat down and I said, look, we shouldn't just do a concert of songs. Let's try and do something else. And she said yes, she was open to the idea. Then we didn't know, were we doing a concert? Were we doing a play? Or what were we doing? So we kept it open. We started researching, we started composing, we started discussing. And at the end of it, what we had was Threshold, which is a musical conversation between Bindu and me, where we tell stories of women, we sing songs written by women, and we talk about gender. What was really good about this production was that we began with absolutely no idea of what it was even going to be, a play, a concert, a recital. We didn't know. But we trusted each other enough to say, let's see where it goes. We were felt so safe with each other because it was just the two of us, and we felt so safe with each other that we said, look, why don't we try and make this just the two of us on stage and contain everything within this, which meant we would have to play instruments, we would have to do the storytelling, we would have to do the singing, everything. So we said, but we are not instrumentalists. We said, okay, we'll practice just those bits for the performance. And we did trust each other with this judgment. And in Threshold, we play about 14 to 15 instruments in the performance, through the performance. And we speak and sing in more than 8 languages. And this really was a lesson for me in a collaboration, that don't be afraid to fail in front of your team. भीतर भीतर भोर भय, बाहर विलुप्त अंधियार, श्वेत श्याम दुर्लभ विशाल, प्रहरी अप्रहर, जन ज्योत जय जयकार. This is a song from a play called Tathagat. Tathagat was directed by Abhishek Majumdar. It was performed by Jana Natya Manch, a premier street theatre organization. And I was invited to be a collaborator on Tathagat as the composer, music composer. Now, this was one of the most pleasurable rehearsals I've ever been a part of. One, because Abhishek Majumdar, who is a constant collaborator, I like his process. I like the way that his rehearsal rooms are, and I do enjoy that a lot. And almost everybody who does theatre in India admires Jana Natya Manch as an organization. So Jana Natya Manch is a group that believes in absolute equality. So the rehearsal process for Tathagat was that everybody would come on time, of course, clean the whole space, set up the rehearsal room, start the rehearsals, and through the rehearsals, anybody at any time had the freedom to object, argue, discuss, say you liked something, you did not like something, have a suggestion. And a lot of the times the rehearsal room was heated, argumentative, discussions, runs, reruns. But it was always a pleasure to be a part of that room. And by the end of it, we had a beautiful play, which by now they have performed, I think, 100 performances of. Each collaboration taught me something. I had learnt a new lesson with each collaboration and with each collaborator. For example, there's a play called Boy with the Suitcase, which I was a part of. Once we were performing Boy with the Suitcase, which is a children's play, somewhere in Germany. And that particular performance, that particular audience that day was comprised of young adults who had absolutely no interest in being a part of that auditorium. They were screaming, they were booing, they were yelling, they were laughing, they were mocking us. And with every dialogue, they got louder and louder and louder and screamed back at us. Now, if you're trying to say something, if you're trying to say a dialogue, and there is a room full of people who are booing you, who are screaming at you, what is the first natural tendency of yours? Mine was to speak louder so that they could hear my dialogue. And what happened was, the louder I spoke, the louder they got. Then my dialogue ended, and my German co-actors had their dialogue. And I noticed that the two of them who were speaking started speaking softer and softer and softer and softer. And I noticed that the crowd, the audience that was screaming and booing at us, also gradually became softer and softer and softer. And there was a moment where there was pin drop silence. And then the actors started speaking in their normal voices again. From that moment on, the audience was hooked to the play. They were clued in. And they followed the story, and they were listening to us. This experience taught me so much about how can one speak in the middle of noise, in chaos, how also one should listen in noise and chaos and in probably a very passionate emotional moment. In all these collaborations, have there been failures? Have there been disappointments? Failures, yes, there have been many failures. Some of them have been sweet, like, the team says, oh, this is not working out. We're not able to make this happen. Let's just dissolve this. Let's work on something else. And that project is shelved. Sometimes the failures are bitter, mostly because when there is maybe an argument, a difference of opinion, whatever is said to each other or to the whole room turns personal. And when that happens, there is a kind of bitterness that sets in that cannot be repaired. So that's a very big lesson I've learned, that at any moment, whenever you're passionate, you're argumentative, you're discussing something, make sure it's only about the project you're discussing. Never, never that you're saying anything personal to anybody. And projects also fail because of betrayal of trust. So when that happens, it's very difficult to build the project back again together. There have been many difficulties. I have noticed over the years that when it is a very difficult project, if the whole team believes in the process, trusts the process, and says, let us just weather this storm, let us see where we go, let's just hold on and go through this and let the process take over. Most of the times when the team has decided to do that, I've noticed that we've always arrived at something very beautiful. It is about weathering the storm and letting the process take over. ಯಾರಿಗೂ ಹೇಳೋಣು ಬ್ಯಾಡ, ಯಾರಿಗೂ ಹೇಳೋಣು ಬ್ಯಾಡ, ಹಾರಗುದುರಿ ಬೆನ್ನ ಏರಿ ಸ್ವಾರರಾಗಿ ಕೂತು ಹಾಂಗ ದೂರ 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 ಹೋಗೋಣ ಅಂತ ಯಾರಿಗೂ ಹೇಳೋಣು ಬ್ಯಾಡ, ಯಾರಿಗೂ ಹೇಳೋಣು ಬ್ಯಾಡ. This is a song that I created with thank you. This is a song that I created with Sushmit Sen, a guitarist and founder of the band Indian Ocean. This was done totally online, by phone calls, via Zoom calls. I asked Sushmit, would you be open to collaborating on a song? He said yes, he was open to it. And we both worked in a way that was, I sent him the song, he sent me the music, and we did a lot of to and fro. And we never met, even for the video shoot, even when we released it, because it was the pandemic, and we never met. We never traveled across the states to meet each other, the cities to meet each other. But this collaboration happened. And again, it was about Sushmit's generosity of spirit, because I'm a much younger artist than him. For him to be open, to be surprised by somebody that he did not know. It was his generosity. And for me, it was the trust that I had in, and the faith that I put in Sushmit. I said, he's an expert, he's a great musician, I love his music, I will trust that we can make this happen. And it did happen. And sometimes long distance collaborations, most of the times don't work because you need to be in the same room. But a lot of times they do. And when they do, it's marvelous, because the next collaboration that I did, I've been doing for a long time, is with a German musician, composer called Andi Otto. And we have been collaborating online for 7 years now. And we have many EPs and LPs and recordings between the two of us that we have worked on. We come from completely different backgrounds. Andy is a German musician, I'm an Indian musician. We have different musical styles, different languages, different cultural backgrounds. But we do respect each other's music and we trust each other. So we have been able to have an ongoing collaboration, online collaboration for 7 years now. So one of the things I've learned about good collaborations is when you find a good collaborator, don't let go. Keep working with that person. Build a bigger team, but never let go of the people that you think are good collaborators because they are hard to come by. Now, when you say yes to a collaboration, it means you're saying yes to going on a long drive. It's important to reach the destination. Yes, it is. But it's also important to make that drive meaningful. And whoever is a part of that drive, 1, 2, 3, 4, how many ever people, it's important that all of them get to drive the car and tell their own story. So collaborations are beautiful because of this reason. Now, I grew up studying in an environment, in institutions where there were 108 students in one class, where the teacher could not pay personal attention to each of us. But I also was lucky enough to be born in a house which was full of artists, theater, music, dance, puppetry, literature. All this was there in my house. It was a progressive and liberal house. And brought up because without my knowledge, I had learned the importance of being in collaborations. Sometimes what happens is collaborative spaces are much closer home than you think. You just need to open your eyes and look around. If our classrooms can be less competitive and more collaborative, it will be a wonderful world. If our democracy and our citizenry and citizenship can be more collaborative than being passive, it would be definitely a much more beautiful society. So I urge all of you to go ahead, creatively collaborate, or even in life, try and collaborate with the world and see that it's a much richer experience. Thank you.